Hello, good evening and welcome to Express News. I'm Gautam Roy. This is your rapid fire news show. Top 100 stories in half an hour. Let's begin. Well, three-day-long AERO India 21 concluded at Air Force Station in Bengaluru's Yelahanka. President Ramnath Kovind addressed the valedictory ceremony. High-level delegations from 43 countries and exhibitors from 530 companies participated in the biennial event. President expressed happiness that despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, AERO India 2021 has been organized successfully. The President praised the courage and bravery of the Indian Air Force pilots for displaying exemplary professionalism in protecting India's skies and strengthening the country's defense. President Kovind lauded the Indian Navy for reaching out to our neighbors and assisting them with medical teams, medicines and other medical supplies during the pandemic under Operation Sagar. The President said reforms initiated in India in the last 6 years offer unprecedented opportunities to investors and private companies in defense and aerospace sectors. The President also said that AERO India 2021 is a living proof of India's ever-growing strength in the defense and aerospace sectors at the global level. The event has exhibited that global confidence in India's capabilities is growing steadily. Earlier addressing the Bandhan event, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said aerospace sector will play an important role in attaining the targets of domestic defence production of $25 billion and export of $5 billion by 2025. India signed 128 MOUs, 19 TOTs, 4 handovers, 18 product launches and 32 major announcements totaling a grand figure of 201 feats. Further, 45 MSMEs participated in AERO India 21 and have bagged orders worth 203 crore rupees. The Defence Minister also interacted with 10 startups exhibiting their products in the Startup Bandhan event. Further, Rajnath Singh said Startup India initiative has encouraged 41,000 startups, thus generating 4.7 lakh jobs and fetching an investment of 4,500 crore rupees. The Indian Navy received 3 Made in India advanced light helicopters from state-run Hindustan Aeronautics Limited today. The helicopters are customized for coastal security purposes. Some Parliament news now. Union Agriculture and Farmer Welfare Minister Narendra Singh Tomar reiterated that India's new agricultural laws are favourable towards farmers. The Agriculture Minister said farmers are being misled against farm laws and asked opposition party members to clarify specific issues. Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day after discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. The lower house was also adjourned till Monday as opposition continued protests in the House against the farm laws. India has received requests for vaccine supply from 22 nations so far. Speaking in the Lok Sabha, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said out of these, supplies have already been sent to 15 nations as grant assistance as well as contract doses. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has issued draft notification regarding accreditation of driver training centres. Any individual on successful completion of driver training from such centres will be exempted from the requirement of driving test while applying for driving licence. The step will help the transport industry to have specially trained drivers, which will improve their efficiency and reduce road accidents. PSLV C-51, the 53rd mission of PSLV, will launch Amazonia 1 and 20 co-passenger satellites on the 28th of this month from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota. And now an update on the COVID-19 situation. India's total active caseload continues to follow a consistent downward slide. The total active cases have dropped to 1.51 lakh today. It is less than the total deaths recorded so far. The active caseload consists of just 1.4% of India's total positive cases. Recovery rate has reached 97.16%, with a total recovery of more than 15,000 patients in the last 24 hours. India's daily new cases also continue to follow a downward trajectory. 12,408 daily new positive cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. India's cases per million population are amongst the lowest in the world. Also, India's 112 deaths per million population figure is also amongst the lowest in the world. Over 19 crore 99 lakh samples have been tested for COVID-19 so far in the country. Of these, 7,15,776 samples were tested on Thursday alone. Nearly 50 lakh beneficiaries have been vaccinated so far under the countrywide COVID-19 vaccination exercise. Over 1 crore 4 lakh patients have already recovered from COVID-19 in the country till now. Schools in the national capital Delhi reopened for students of classes 9 and 11 today. Earlier, the Delhi government had resumed schools for classes 10 and 12 in view of the upcoming CBSE board exams. Domestic equity indices BSE Sensex and Nifty 50 extended the Union Budget 2021 rally to the 5th consecutive day on Friday. BSE Sensex ended 117 points up at 50,732, while the Nifty ended 29 points up at 14,924. Gold futures at MCX was up 0.3% or 141 rupees at 46,856 per 10 grams. Silver futures rose 0.68% to 457 rupees by 457 rupees to 67,275 per kg. The rupee inched up 3 paise to 72.93 against the US dollar in opening trade amid a firm trend in the domestic equity market and RBI's decision to leave key interest rates unchanged. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures jumped 51 cents to $56.73 a barrel after touching a high of $56.75, the most since the 22nd of January last year. The benchmark contract is on track for a weekly gain of nearly 9%, which would be its biggest weekly gain since October. Petrol and diesel prices in Delhi hit new highs again on Friday as state-run oil marketing companies raised the fuel rates by another 30 paise a litre in the capital. The Reserve Bank of India has left interest rates unchanged for the 4th time in a row, keeping the repo rate at 4%. Speaking at a press conference, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that the central bank will maintain accommodative monetary policy stance to support growth and keep inflation at targeted levels. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das announced the bi-monthly monetary policy and said that GDP is likely to be at 10.5% for FY 21-22. Adding further, the governor said that CPI inflation is estimated at 5.2% for the current quarter from January to March and at 5.2% to 5% for H1 FY 21-22. US stocks ended solidly higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 332.2 points to 31,055.8. The S&P 500 gained 41.57 points to 3,871.74, and Nasdaq Composite added 167.2 points to 13,777.74. US President Joe Biden laid out his foreign policy vision during a visit to the State Department, declaring America is back, diplomacy is back. Earlier, the US President spoke to State Department staff persons directly and praised them for their work. Biden promised diplomats that they will be trusted and empowered. The United Nations Security Council has expressed concern over declaration of state of emergency in Myanmar. UNSC called for an immediate release of detained members of the government, including State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. The US President also called upon Myanmar's military to relinquish power and release those detained in the 1st of February coup. US had already threatened the invoking of severe sanctions against Myanmar. Leaders from Indonesia and Malaysia called on Myanmar to resolve its political differences through legal means. Malaysian Prime Minister, Indonesian President also urged ASEAN bloc to chair a special foreign ministers meeting in light of recent events in Myanmar. Meanwhile, activists gathered outside the Myanmar's embassy in Indonesia's capital Jakarta to protest against the recent coup by the Myanmar's military junta. And in South Korea, students marched down the streets towards Myanmar's embassy in Seoul to protest against the recent military coup. A civil disobedience movement is also gaining momentum across Myanmar. Healthcare workers, teachers and civil servants have either organized small protests or gone on strike, while others have continued to work wearing symbols of defiance. Over 10 crore 54 lakh 93,700 people worldwide have contracted the COVID-19 disease, while more than 7 crore 71 lakh 93,800 have recovered from it. The tally of fatalities from COVID-19 has crossed 22 lakh 96,000 globally. The US continues to remain the worst affected from the disease. Over 2 crore 72 lakh 73,800 cases have been reported in the US, with the death toll standing above 4 lakh 66,900. The US is trailed by Brazil in terms of the number of fatalities, where more than 2 lakh 28,000 deaths have been registered due to COVID-19. Johnson & Johnson said on Thursday that it has asked US health regulators to authorize its single-dose COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use, and it will apply to European authorities in the coming weeks. The drug maker's application to the US Food and Drug Administration follows its 29th of January report, in which it said the vaccine had a 66% rate of preventing infections in its large global trial. Britain will place travellers arriving from COVID-19 hotspots in quarantine in hotels from the 15th of February after criticism that it was not moving fast enough to bring in the measure. The mandatory 10-day stay in government-provided accommodation is designed to tighten borders against mutant strains of the coronavirus, which could endanger Britain's vaccination program. Britain's Aston Villa football grounds have been turned into a mass COVID-19 vaccination centre. The centre would vaccinate around 1,500 people per day in Birmingham City. Britain is currently rolling out a mass vaccination program, and more than 10 million people have been given their first shots of the COVID-19 vaccine. France's Prime Minister Jean Castex has said that the coronavirus situation in France remains fragile, but there is no need of new nationwide lockdown. Castex said that the rate of infection had not significantly increased over the past 2 weeks, despite the pressure on French hospitals remaining strong. Meanwhile, opinion polls have shown that many French residents, including business owners, expect the government to impose another nationwide lockdown in the hope that their lives and economy can get back to normal. 55% of French residents supported a third nationwide lockdown during the week before Wednesday, 7 percentage points higher than the previous week. Catalonia's regional authorities are controversially set to hold elections on the 14th of February, that's Valentine's Day, providing voting officials with hazmat suits and PPEs amid questions over the wisdom of holding a poll in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic's third wave. Catalonia is currently under a lockdown that has stopped people from leaving their municipalities except for work or health reasons. Brazil's jungle city Manaus has got its new COVID-19 intensive care unit with oxygen generators. Manaus has made headlines in recent weeks for its high death rate, a shortage of oxygen tanks for patients who develop severe cases of COVID-19, and the emergence of a new variant of the virus. The ward is comprised of 22 ICU beds, each with ventilators fed through the hospital's own oxygen generator. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, in a video message, announced that he is in good health and recovering from the COVID-19 infection after announcing that on the 29th of January he had tested positive. Obrador gave no details on whether he was now free from COVID-19. Now, with tails wagging to a chorus of barks and yelps, more than 24 dogs attached to wheels that support their disabled hind legs scrambled along the rocky path as part of their daily exercise. Mostly victims of accidents, the 27 dogs were being nursed back to health at a shelter in Thailand's province of Chonburi, southeast of the capital Bangkok. Like many artists, Matthew Willey had longed to meet his muse. He had no idea she would fly in through his apartment window. The bee that buzzed into his room in late spring 2008 so entranced the New York-based muralist that he embarked on a mission to highlight growing threats to pollinators by hand-painting 50,000 individual bees on buildings around the world. Stigma, logistics and money compel thousands of Kenyan teenagers to drop out of school each year after becoming pregnant, but a new school is offering them education free from judgment. Serene Haven opened in January, and among its students are 17 teenage mothers and pregnant girls. With a boarding school offering counseling services and day care, many such girls can fulfill their ambitions and dreams. Now, while the world was grappling with the pandemic, a Hungarian family of 4 decided last summer to fulfill their dream, sailing around the globe in a 50-foot boat called Tea Time. They set sail from Croatia in late June 2020 and have since made their way around Italy and Spain. Now anchored off the Caribbean island of Saint Martin, they have their sights set on the Panama Canal. Some Europeans have extended their stay in Dubai this winter to avoid strict coronavirus lockdown at home and make the most of lighter restrictions to work, learn, dine out and relax by the pool. Dubai is one of the few destinations open to international travel since July. Neighbors are helping neighbors in New York City's Harlem survive the COVID-19 pandemic by handing out free, healthy food. To meet this unprecedented challenge, New York City Department of Probation organized a food pantry with an uncommon mix of workers. There were law enforcement officers and people who served time behind bars, corporations and non-profit groups, all mixed together. With a black bowler hat on his head, a walking stick in one hand and an alarmed look on his face, Usman Khan dodges between speeding cars and rickshaws on the streets of Pakistan's western city of Peshawar, mimicking Charlie Chaplin. The 28-year-old normally sells children's toys, but since the start of the pandemic, he's begun to dress up as Chaplin to provide comic relief during tough times. But after the liberation of Mosul in 2017, Hakam Al-Khatib was offered a chance to participate in a collective exhibition. Al-Khatib immediately said yes. This has taken him, as well as 38 other artists from Mosul, on a 4-year-long journey to create a Google Arts and Culture online exhibition. Tourists in Kashmir's Gulmarg ski resort have a new place to chill out in an igloo cafe that serves hot food and drinks on tables made of ice and snow. Staff at Karahoy Green Heights Hotel took inspiration from Arctic shelters and added a few local touches, an arched door and patterns on the curved walls. The igloo, 25 feet around, holds 4 tables with enough room for 16 guests. Peering through enclosure windows, they were a popular source of entertainment at Jerusalem's Biblical Zoo. But human visitors haven't been around for a month since the start of a nationwide coronavirus lockdown in Israel, and the animals miss staring at them. With no visitors around, the animals must make do with interacting with their keepers, who remain busy feeding and tending to kangaroos, zebras and elephants. Sports now in England are currently in a strong position against India at the end of day 1 of the first test match at Chepauk in a series of 4. At stumps, England were at 263 runs for the loss of 3 wickets. England captain Joe Root's electrifying start to 2021 reached a new height as he scored an outstanding century in his 100th test as well at Chepauk. For India, R. Ashwin dismissed Rory Burns and Jasprit Bumrah picked 2 wickets of Joe Root and Daniel Lawrence. Tennis and the draw for the first Grand Slam of the year, Australian Open, has been announced. World number 1 Ash Barty is looking forward to break Australia's 43-year title drought in a home Grand Slam. With a lack of match practice in the ATP Cup, Rafael Nadal has a relatively easy early run in the Australian Open. Nadal will play versus world number 56 Laszlo Djere. 5 of the top 6 favourites for the women's singles title are in the bottom half, including Naomi Osaka, Serena Williams and Simona Halep. Serena, in fact, has withdrawn from her Yarra Valley Classic semi-final against world number 1 Ashley Barty with a right shoulder injury. Serbian Novak Djokovic beat Alexander ZVEREV 6-7, 6-2, 7-5 in a 3-set match at the ATP Cup in Melbourne before the year's first Grand Slam. Dan Evans and Cameron Norrie will play one another in the first round of the Australian Open. Tony Trabert, a 5-time Grand Slam singles champion and former number 1 player who went on to successful careers as a Davis Cup captain, has died at the age of 90. Football now, Liverpool will not be able to travel to Germany for the first leg of their Champions League last 16 tie against RB Leipzig on the 16th of this month. Tottenham Hotspur lost 0-1 at home to Chelsea, who continued their unbeaten start under new boss Thomas Tuchel and moved into the Premier League's top 6. It was the third successive defeat in a dismal sequence for Tottenham, and Spurs manager Jose Mourinho criticised referee Andre Mariner's performance. And in entertainment news, former President Donald Trump resigned his membership in a top US Actors and Screen Union that was reviewing disciplinary action against him. In a letter to the Screen Actors Guild, Trump slammed the union's planned hearing after the board last month found probable cause that he had violated his terms over the attack. SAG-AFTRA, which represents some 1.6 lakh actors, journalists and other media professionals, on the 19th of January said it would review Trump's role in the riot that took place in Capitol Hill, saying he had attacked the values this union holds most sacred: democracy, truth, respect for our fellow Americans of all races and faiths, and the sanctity of the free press. The casts of films Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Da 5 Bloods, Minari, One Night in Miami, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 were nominated on Thursday for the top category in Hollywood Screen Actors Guild's awards. Hollywood period drama Mank, however, was omitted from the nominations for Best Movie Cast Ensemble. Television series competing for the top SAG prize included the casts of The Crown, Schitt's Creek, Bridgerton and Ted Lasso. The Screen Actors Guild Awards, voted on by members of the acting union, will be handed out at a ceremony on the 4th of April this year. Nomadland director Chloe Zhao has made history as the first Asian woman nominated for a Golden Globe for directing. Nomadland stars Frances McDormand as a widow in her 60s in a depressing Nevada mining town who turns her van into a mobile home and sets out on the road, taking on seasonal jobs along the way. In total, Nomadland has received 4 nominations, including for Best Drama, Screenplay and Actress for McDormand. Nomadland, which also received top prizes at the Venice and Toronto Film Festivals, will be released simultaneously in theatres and digitally on Hulu on the 19th of this month. Production on the third Fantastic Beasts movie has been halted after a team member tested positive for COVID-19. Filming had begun in September at Warner Brothers Studios in Leavesden outside London after the pandemic delayed a March 2020 start. The Fantastic Beasts films are set some 70 years before Harry Potter and include younger versions of author J.K. Rowling's characters such as Albus Dumbledore, played by Jude Law. The upcoming movie, scheduled for release in July 2022, also sees Mads Mikkelsen take on the role of evil wizard Gellert Grindelwald, originally played by Johnny Depp. A full-length official trailer has been released for the upcoming comedy movie Coming to America, which sees Hollywood legend Eddie Murphy reprise the role of newly crowned King Akeem for the fictional African country Zamunda. The film is a sequel to the popular 1988 movie of a similar name, Coming to America, and also stars comedian Arsenio Hall as King Akeem's right-hand man, Semi. In Coming to America, the duo travel back to Queens in New York in search of King Akeem's previously unknown son and heir to the throne. The film will be released on Amazon Prime on the 5th of March, that is next month. When Colombian music sensation Maluma arrived at an art gallery in Miami, his car was mobbed by hundreds of fans and police were forced to shut down the event. It was a bittersweet reminder of the reality of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the singer has launched a new audiovisual album called #7DJ, which celebrates his 27th birthday. For the album cover, Maluma collaborated with Colombian artist Federico Uribe. Together, the Colombian artists launched a pop-up sustainable exhibition in Miami featuring pieces of art representing each song of the album. Portions of the proceeds of the exhibition will be donated to environmental charities in Latin America. Desmond Obiagle gave up his career in investment banking to make films. His feature, The Milkmaid, about insurgency in northeastern Nigeria, is now vying for an Oscar. It's a film about two sisters caught up in an Islamist insurgency in northeastern Nigeria, and it could be heading for international awards glory. The Milkmaid, which has already won 5 Africa Movie Academy Awards, is Nigeria's nominee for Best International Film at this year's Oscars. The Academy for Motion Picture Arts and Sciences will announce its nominations for the Academy Awards on the 15th of next month. Lavish golden dresses decked out in zodiac signs and tarot symbols provided some Christian Dior-infused mysticism for the start of Paris Haute Couture Week. One of the high points of the yearly fashion calendar, with elaborate hand-stitched outfits providing a touch of luxurious escapism, the latest edition held without crowds as brands replaced the runway with online projections. And that's all we have for the moment in Express News. All the latest will continue right here on DD India. Stay with us.